Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to my presentation on addressing climate change and food security for global health sustenance. I'm Vedant Sharma, and I'm a rising junior at Audi International School in Houston, Texas. And today I wanted to share my opinion on how climate change, food security, and global health are intertwined with each other. Let me walk you through the agenda. First, I will introduce myself and then go into the details of key challenges to global health. We will understand the climate change imperative that we and our future generations need to face head on. After that, we'll walk through approaches to reduce climate change by understanding some of the key tenets of the Paris Agreement and COP26 summit. Then we'll go through how to develop a food security framework by understanding the key variables impacted by climate change. We will also learn how we can use technology to drive food security resilience. Then I'll walk through some of my personal contributions and then wrap up with a call to action that all of us can take to mitigate the effects of climate change. First, let me talk a little bit about myself. I'm the founder of Blooming Sapling and dedicated to creating a sustainable future for all by raising awareness about climate change. I'm also the founder and CEO of Savada 360, whose mission is to reduce food wastage by repurposing avocado seeds. In school, I am the founder of the STEM Innovation Club, a newspaper editor, and a member of the swim team. Moving on to the actual presentation. In this section, we'll talk about the key challenges to achieving global health sustenance. Let us talk about the climate change imperative that we all face right now. First, some facts. Our temperatures are rising due to infamous greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide and methane. With temperatures rising at an average rate of 0.2 degrees Celsius per decade, if we reach 1.5 degrees or more, then we run the risk of an irreversible damage to our beloved planet for future generations to come. According to the WHO, climate change is the greatest threat to humankind in the 21st century, and we are already seeing wildfires in Australia and California, flooding in Bangladesh, and drought in Africa. Just last week in Houston, we had an extreme heat advisory where outside temperatures felt like 111 degrees and the electric grid was challenged. 4 years ago, we had floods when Harvey struck, and last year we went into a deep freeze when pipes in my own house burst. So extreme weather is a reality for me and for most of the planet as well. This has huge implications in terms of lives lost and reductions in crop yields due to drought-like condition. Also, pests have a much milder winter, which results in larger threats to crops. Agriculture and deforestation contribute significantly to climate change, and each 1 degree rise leads to a 10% drop in crop yields. So what is food security? The US Department of Agriculture defines food security as an ability to obtain and use sufficient amounts of safe food. But our food supply chain, which starts from farming, goes through a complex storing, processing, packaging, and retailing process to reach us as consumers. And climate change is wreaking havoc on this complex food supply chain, which spans our entire planet, leading to disruptions. 10% of the population on this planet still goes hungry, and the problem is even worse in Africa, whereby 20% of the people are affected by it. Climate change is just making this worse year after year. According to the WHO, climate change will cause $2 to $4 billion worth of economic damage by 2030, and also causing 250,000 additional deaths per year. And the worst part is that this is going to severely impact more people into poverty every year due to extreme weather events such as heat waves, storms, and floods. Clearly, climate change is no joke that can be brushed on to the next generation. What can we do now to mitigate the effects of climate change and food security to thrive in the future? Not only can we thrive and create sustainable global health for all in the future. Climate action and affordable clean energy are two key tenets of the UN Sustainable Development Goal Charter. For us to reduce climate change, we need to follow these key tenets of the Paris Agreement and COP26, which was recently conducted in Glasgow. It is imperative that we accelerate the path to 1.5 degrees Celsius instead of the 2 degrees which is going to doom our future. We must replace fossil fuels with future renewable fuels in a timely manner. On an individual level, we need to improve efficiency and consume less by transitioning away from coal and reaching zero-emission vehicles sooner than 2040. Now, let us understand how we can contribute to building a food security framework by understanding how climate change affects different parts of the food supply chain. To mitigate wide variations in food supply, we need to reduce transportation and distribution costs by sourcing and consuming locally. Imagine if you were able to grow all your food in a narrow space at your home. Our food environment, especially geographical areas close to the ocean, are at serious risk at ocean levels rising. To protect our food supply chain, we need to build flood protection as a fundamental right for coastal communities. We waste 40% of the food that we produce, and we need to do better than that by only buying what we need. Again, lots of waste just happens because we are using complex supply chains to transport large quantities across the ocean. Also, we need to use less water. Water is an extremely precious resource, and we need to preserve as much as possible. Finally, we need to shift towards plant-based diets as the carbon intensity of consuming meat is much higher than using plants. If we do not do all these things, we continue to perpetuate the negative virtuous cycle, which is going to be a disaster for us in the long term. Now, let me give you some examples of how companies are using technology to create sustainable supply chains. Aero Farms is pioneering vertical farming, which uses 95% less water and much less space to grow vegetables at a micro scale. Bosch and BASF are partnering to increase crop yields by intelligent planting using robots and smart spraying using drones. Walmart can track the origin of a mango in 2.2 seconds by using blockchain technology, which establishes food system traceability. All of these things are innovative that we need to scale quickly, which will allow us to build an agile food chain, which can be adjusted based on unpredictable weather patterns. Now, let me talk about some of my contributions. I founded Blooming Sapling in the aftermath of Winter Storm Uri, where it snowed in Texas. We have organized multiple community events to raise awareness and protect our future, and we plan to do roundup activities this summer. Did you know that 40% of the food that we eat gets wasted? I've co-founded a startup called Spot 360, which takes avocado seeds typically thrown away by restaurants and convert them into innovative products to create a circular economy. But you must be wondering what you can do right now. I was personally inspired by Enoch Elizabeth Johnson's TED Talk, which she laid out this Venn diagram to find your climate action by answering these 3 questions. What brings you joy? What are you good at? And what work needs doing? For ideas about number 3, go to www.drawdown, which outlines different ways in which you can get started right now. Attached are the references that I used to build this content. I want to sincerely thank you for listening, and thank you to the whole GHLC team for this incredible platform. I was certainly inspired by the stories that I heard in this conference, and feel free to drop me a note with questions. I would love to collaborate with you on this important journey of addressing climate change to drive food security and global health sustenance.